Hello and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. Obviously, a little bit of a different game this week. So before we do get started, I just want to mention obviously this week it is the Carlton Respects game, which has been going on since 2016. I think it was supposed to be earlier on in the year, but obviously it couldn't be. So it was started by Luke and Daniel Paulino, I believe I pronounced that correctly, who have both seen the effects of domestic violence firsthand. They're both wonderful people with an incredible story. I also want to mention Simone O'Brien, who is an ambassador for the Carlton Respects game. Also has an incredible story of bravery and courage. So check out her website. There's also a Carlton Respects website, which is separate to our own website. So check that out. It's a wonderful cause led by wonderful people. All right. Now, let's get started. So we are, of course, playing the mighty Gold Coast Suns, who got smashed by how many points last week? 98. Last time we played them, though, was up on the sunny Gold Coast, wasn't it, Mitch?
Yep, I was there, mate. 10-point win for the Blue Baggers.
I've got 11 here.
High quality.
Yes. He's 11. It is 11.
I've got, and you can tell me where I go wrong. So I've got 8 goals, 9, lost to the mighty Blue Baggers, 9-16-70.
Yeah,
quality game football.
2 goals each to Harry and Mark Murphy. One of our captains as well, Sam Doherty, 28. Also, another thing I will mention before we get on to the stat that people have brought to our attention in the last few days. Liam Jones, Jacob Wiedering, Adam Sard and Sam Petrevsky-Seaton combined for 45 intercepts.
That's
and obviously, of course, it came out yesterday or the day before, whenever it was, that Liam Jones has only been outmarked once this season in one-on-one marking contest, which is out of 101. So he's been marked, he's outmarked his opponent 100 times. The lowest percentage since they started recording that stat, which is incredible.
Bloody good.
It is bloody good, and it just shows. Like you look at the stats at the end of the game, and he may only have 10 disposals. He's a defender, but it's not one of the key stats you look at, which it is obviously incredibly important, but it's not something that people check regularly as well. So people don't really notice that sort of aspect of the game, but he does. He is very underrated, and it's incredible how he's sort of turned his career around. All thanks to Josh Fraser.
Shout out Joshy boy.
Yeah, Josh,
he's doing absolute wonders, mate.
Great bloke. All right, let's get started. So our ins and our outs. So of course we have the big mighty Eddie Betts back in. It was announced earlier in the week by Andrew Russell, that he is a 50-50 chance to play. So you would think maybe they should have rested him because we have other options, younger options. But what do you feel? What do you boys feel? If he's fit, he should be playing. How do you feel?
I feel like he has just a special type of impact when he's out there. Especially in that Collingwood game, those 1%ers he does, those smothers, just being there, that pressure. He's really lifted to how he played last year, which has been fantastic considering his age. But yeah, definitely, I reckon he should re-sign. I reckon he has one more year as well.
Yeah, it's been not confirmed, but they have basically did a few rumours, I think, hasn't it? That he's basically locked in for next year. I think I've heard. How do you feel, Jack? Are you glad to see Eddie back, or would you have preferred someone else?
I mean, no, I don't really mind. It's that sort of position. I think anyone can play it. And if it's Eddie and if he's fit, then I'm happy with that. If he was rested another week, would have been happy with that as well. I'm not really fussed either way.
Obviously, with Eddie Betts coming in, someone must miss out. So Matthew always has been omitted. He's not managed. He is omitted this week, which I'm sort of happy with, or I'm not happy with. I'd prefer him to be playing and kicking goals, but he has been kept goalless 3 of his past 4 matches. I think you were mentioning he might have been a bit stiff, Mitch, earlier. How do you feel about always being out, mate?
Oh, yeah. I mean, feel like he was stiff, but as you mentioned just then, he hasn't kicked a goal in the past 3 weeks. That's just it. So that's just not good enough for a small forward. So, and I think that's what Eddie will add. I reckon he will just add that goal sense. So, yeah, I reckon he's stiff, but also saying that it's not like he's been absolutely tearing down the door and he's been playing really well. I don't think he's been doing that. So I think it's probably the right call.
Good call, mate. Daff and Jack, do you sort of someone agree, or are you happy with him out, or how do you feel?
Yeah, not necessarily happy, but you got to be kicking goals in that position, and when you've got a star like Eddie Betts, potentially coming in, why not bring him in? I think he's had a great year, so yeah.
Yep, Jack, do you agree, mate?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I would love for him to be playing, but I think, you can't begrudge the selectors for the reasoning behind him not playing. I think, as he said, has kicked goals recently. So, yeah, I'd love for him to be playing, but can understand why he's not, for sure.
The positive for me for Owie is this year, he's actually played consistent games since about round 7, which was the Essendon game. So he's not just, like Lockie O'Brien and they give him one game and then drop him. He's actually earned that as well. So it's good.
Yeah, exactly right. That's sort of the way it's supposed to be, the way it should be. Like, you push the spot, you earn it. And then if you have a few, sort of bad or off games, because other people to come in, which I think for that role, Eddie, probably Fogarty as well, who played well in the twos, I believe. Like, there's sort of a few people, I guess, pushing almost for that role. Like, if Jacob Wiedering was having a few off games, you still sort of keep him in because there's no one else really to come in as much. But, it makes it trickier. So Murph, of course, it was medical sub. We would assume he would be this week with the emergencies. So Kemp is not an emergency this week. So it's Mark Murphy, Levi, always obviously, and then
Levi.
McGovern.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? That's an interesting.
How would you feel? Obviously, TDK is at this stage playing, and so we'll treat that how it is. He's playing the game. How would you feel? I guess you'd be pretty upset if TDK was out in general, but would you prefer McGovern in or Levi in? Mitch, who would you prefer, mate?
Well, maybe that's why. Maybe that's why Levi's emergency. Because if TDK doesn't go, if TDK doesn't make it to Saturday and he's not fit, maybe that's the replacement. Because I reckon Levi, out of all them, Levi is probably the first option that I'll go ruckman wise, but I don't want him to go forward. That's a thing. I would rather him say if TDK isn't fit, I would rather Levi just be the ruckman and swap with, say, Jay Sauce or something. But if TDK is fit, which I hope he is, of course, I probably wouldn't have Levi and McGovern in the team, especially with Charlie Curnow and Harry Mackay in the team. And Sauce, probably not. But, that's all I have to say.
Daffy, the same, mate? Would you prefer Levi or McGovern?
Seeing that name in the emergencies makes me a bit scared, to be honest with you. Imagine if it just comes up on, Instagram, Levi's laid in, probably shoot myself. But, I guess he can ruck. I guess he can come in and ruck. But I feel like McGovern would provide a bit more.
Exactly.
More run as well. Levi's knees have been cooked the whole year and he's been really struggling to move around the ground. So, I'd go McGovern over Levi.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. Jack, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, McGovern for me, just much more, athletic, bouncier than I guess Levi's stronger, but I mean, just that bit like TDK, just the athleticism that Gub has, I think, would be better than Levi, especially around the ground. So I would hope it'd be Gub, not Levi for me.
Yeah, but I agree with all of that. You and Daff. Mitch, not so much. But no. Also, I think so much more expectations on McGovern as well. He's on the big, big bucks. They brought him in. Mate, he's got to fucking play. He's got to perform. Levi is a bit more. He's played 150 games almost, whatever it is. And he's he had to say in his last year, McGovern will, I don't know how long he's contracted for, but you would assume he's sort of in the next few years and he's on the big bucks. So I think he has a lot more to prove. So plus I prefer him athletic-wise as well. All right, let's go to Gold Coast ins and outs. So they have Sam Flanders, Will Brodie, Jack Bowes. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Jack Bowes, yeah.
All omitted. That's a bit of a fall from grace because especially from Gold Coast team, he's been going all right. Not necessarily last week. I didn't watch last week. I assume that he didn't go too well last week, lose by 100 points. But I know the start of the year, I had him in my fantasy, and he was going.
He was doing all right. Yeah. But then also Will Brodie. I mean, I feel like he played all right.
They were pretty awful. They were pretty awful.
Oh yeah, no, of course.
Terrible.
Bad. Of course, they have to
But,
swing the axe, but I feel like Will Brodie, like that's one of those players. It's a bit like Luke Dunstan from St Kilda. It's one of those players that should be better. They're just not. I don't understand why.
Yeah. I think for those guys, it's ball use. They just get like through the middle of the ground. They don't hit targets. Like Dunstan versus us, I reckon his percentage was like, well, disposal efficiency was like 60s or 50.
Yeah,
like
not
that.
high.
Like, that's
not high.
Yeah.
Brandon Ellis back in as well, which I think would be
that's handy.
Good for them. Yeah. And then Jacob Townsend also playing for the Gold Coast.
Making his debut
Liam
for Gold
Jones'
Coast
forehead
again.
gives you
Debut for
nightmares.
Gold Coast, yes.
Yeah. Oh no, he played for Giants, didn't he? He played for Giants.
Giants.
Yeah, that's right. I do that.
Time for key matchups, is it, with Daff?
Yeah, mate, I've got it sorted. There was a minor change before. We had a bit of a chat about the King situation. So we'll start off with that. Due to the last few weeks, Wetter's been a bit off to his usual, expectations of an absolute gun footballer he is. We're going to put Jonesy on Ben King. What do you reckon about that? How do you reckon that'll go?
Well, being the one that changed your mind, I'll go first, as I like to always. I'm pretty average with memory, but how many did Larky kick again? Kick the bag.
7.
Then how many goals did King kick in the first quarter last week?
3.
So
3.
in 5 quarters of football, what's that? 10 goals.
Yeah.
Jones basically went on him in the end.
Mind you, those last 3 quarters, Weeders was outstanding. But yeah.
Yeah, but in a different
league. Like someone said though, at least he didn't wait till this week to play better. He improved during the game. Like I think that's the problem for Carlton over the years. Like we've had players and they have a shit first 10 minutes and they just let the game go away. Like you just know they're gonna have a shit game. Like that's just annoying.
Would you start weeding on King, but just be mindful of potentially moving Jones on there, or would you go straight to Jones playing on him?
Yeah, because that's interesting. Yeah, like Townsend coming in, who would take him? I think Jones would take.
Doesn't matter. He's not great.
I reckon Newman. I reckon like a Jones or a like whoever's on King. So say if we put Jones on King, Wiedering will go on Burgess, and I reckon maybe Newman or a Plowman will go on. They have a pretty tall forward line because they have Sexton as well and Ainsworth, who's a pretty mid to tall forward. So I reckon this will be.
Stock will take Ainsworth, I reckon.
Oh, yeah, so we'll move on. We'll go to the middle of the ground. This bloke, we didn't think he was going to play, Tommy DeConning. He's very sore and I reckon this is a great matchup for him. Zach Smith, who's, been a bit, in his career has been a bit, not pretty average, really.
Yeah.
He was at the Suns first and then he's just come back to the Suns. So what do we think of that matchup? Teddy K versus Zach Smith. How do you reckon that'll go?
I reckon this is one of the matchups that Teddy K is actually a favourite to win. He should be beating Zach Smith because over the past, I reckon every game he's played, he's probably been there he's not been as good as the other ruckman just because exactly, like the underdog, exactly spot on. So I reckon Teddy K, but I want to see how he goes. I want to see how he goes with him having the expectation, or hopefully they don't put a lot of expectation on him, but he should be beating Zach Smith. So who knows? But I reckon he should be good.
So we'll move on to up forward. We've got Charlie Kerno on Charlie Ballard, which would be an interesting matchup. I feel like they're two young, promising stars of the future. Obviously stars already, but what do you reckon, boys?
Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting matchup. I mean, Charlie's second game back, obviously not expecting too much of him for the rest of the year. But I really rate Charlie Ballard. I know Gold Coast, they're not great, but I think he's really solid. He doesn't look like he'd be that great of a key defender with his stature, Ballard, but I think he's all right. But I think Kerno, I can't really say Charlie, Kerno will, I think he should still have his measure and have a solid game despite only being his second game back.
Well said, mate. Very clear. Mitch?
Charlie Kerno, as you said before, we don't really expect overly too much from Charlie. But I just think I reckon Charlie Ballard's a bloody good defender, young defender as well. So I don't think I'm expecting too much from Charlie Kerno, but I just want him back. I just want him back on the field. Doesn't matter if he's kicking 5. Doesn't matter if he's kicking 0-2, 1 goal, one goal. It doesn't matter. I just want him back on the field just for the next couple of games.
Yeah, it will matter eventually.
Yeah. Oh, of course it will. I mean, like if he's not, like if he's had a full preseason and round one he's kicking 0, 3 with 3 disposals, that's a worry. So, yeah. So I feel like there's not too much expectation on Charlie Curnow. I just want him back on the park. Quite simple.
Yep, too easy. That's it for matchups. Let's move on.
Bang, short and sharp. I like it. All right. For under the park, we're sort of Ethan, Mitchell, and Jack and myself. We don't really have any one player. We're just sort of going to mention the whole team in general in terms of they played arguably their best game of the year last week. The most accurate they've ever kicked. So it's basically just backing that up. It's just backing that up, being consistent, not getting everyone's hopes up and then deflating everyone. Just keep it consistent. You're playing arguably one of the worst teams in the comp, no disrespect. So back it up and go out there and smash the fuckers. Ooh, sorry. Yeah, be consistent and don't let us down, basically.
Yeah, keep it up.
Yeah, that should be the club motto next year. Sign up, member 2022. All right, moving on to some questions now that people have sent in. So, what is the key to stopping the Gold Coast Suns, Jack Speechley?
I think limiting Touk Miller's influence, I think, could probably be priority number one. I don't think they've got many others. I mean, looking at their list, of their team, I should say, like they have Real, but he's not being damaging since he's come back from injury. So I think really the only way they're going to hurt us is Touk Miller out of the middle. So I think that's got to be priority number one. Outside of that, I think if he doesn't have much of an impact, I'm not sure where they're going to beat us.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. Mitch, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I mean, same thing. Just I feel like we need to limit Miller's use of the ball. Does Ed Curnow tag? Because you say that every week, but it doesn't seem like he's tagging. So will he tag?
I'm not sure. I reckon he looks like he's going to be playing on the wing more. So I don't know.
Yeah.
He could probably still tag in some way, but I don't know. You continue, mate.
Yeah, but yeah, and then I mean, also Brandon Ellis, that's a bloody handy in because he's been pretty good this year. I reckon he's been pretty good. So
yeah. What else do we have here? All right, this one's a bit of a long one, so bear with me. So Carlton knew that Curnow was going to be fined for the Roos game, but seconded to give him another week. He comes back against the Saints and plays well, and they win. Do you think he should have been brought back earlier? And could that loss to North be the difference between us making or missing the 8? And that was supposed to be decided, apparently. So for the Roos game, but decided to give him another week. Autocorrect. All right.
Yeah, I agree with that last part of that question, that that game will probably cost us finals, probably. I don't necessarily think he had a great game on the weekend, so I don't know if he would have changed. I don't think he would have changed the result. Against North, we were pretty awful as a whole. It was our worst game for years, and we've had some shit games. So, I don't know. It's tough.
It makes it interesting that you say that because obviously it's in the group chat and with uni mates, obviously, and then Giles comes on and says, "Come on, mate, they could have played Chris Judd and they wouldn't have beaten the Roos." And I think that's basically exactly what you just said. I don't know
exactly right.
That much of a difference. He kicked a 1 goal, good goal. Obviously, just his presence probably gave Harry a few extra as well in that sense, but I don't know if he would have made the difference. The game for me that hurts me the most is the Bulldogs game. But Mitch, what do you reckon, mate, for that question?
Well, when he mentioned about Curnow that he was going to be flying against the Roos, I don't think that's right. I mean, he may be fit, but I would much rather not risk him and bring him back the next week. So I reckon that's a little. I mean, if we were forced to bring Charlie Curnow back for the Roos game, that's a worry. That's a massive worry. But yeah, I mean, of course, that game is going to. If we just miss the 8, that's probably the game that I'll look at. I mean, of course, the Western Bulldogs game as well.
Bulldogs, there's heaps.
There's plenty. There's plenty. But yeah, that game fucking hurts. That game hurts because if we won that game and we won the game last week, we would have been in the 8 right now. So that fucking hurts.
Yeah, exactly right. Also, mate. Yeah, I agree. It's a lot of expectation to put on one player who hasn't played in 2 years. So yeah, I completely agree. Regardless of what all the rumors are and what everyone says, I just completely trust, Andrew Russell and all that and the fitness plan in terms of rehabilitation for players and all that sort of stuff and what they think is best. We can question it, but they're the professionals. So whatever they think's best, they work for my club. So I'm just going to trust them.
Yeah.
Trust that they're doing the right thing. Moving on to our predictions. Unless you have any more questions that you've been sent through. We all good?
Yeah, all good. Let's move on.
All good. All right. Beautiful. Predictions. How much of the Suns going to win by Jack? You go, mate.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, I do feel every time I've tipped against us, we've won. So, yeah, look, I'm going to go Suns by 10. I think we'll, shit the bed. Shit the bed in a game that we're meant to win again. Yeah.
Yeah, do you have any player predictions, mate?
Ben King.
Do you have a Gold Coast beanie on this? Ben?
Yeah. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, I am going to stick with Suns by 10, but I'm going to go Charlie and Harry to combine for 5.
Oh yeah, nice.
He's keeping the curse going. It's the reverse psychology, I think.
Wait, hold on. So I know we didn't do the episode because it hadn't started by then, but on your footy tips, who did you tip against when we played the Doggies?
Carlton.
Doggies.
Where's the logic? Oh, mate. All right. What do you reckon, Matt?
Yeah, I've got Carlton by 54. The way they played on the weekend was pretty awful. I'm sure they'll, might improve, but I think if we fuck them up, I think their club will almost fold.
No, that's a big call.
All I can say is the Tasmanian Suns has a good ring to it.
Not really. We don't have.
Not really. No sun in Tassie.
Tasmanian dark clouds or something. Player predictions, Daff?
Yeah, I've got Charlie Kerner to kick 4.
Oh, I like that. It's a bit less safe than the bloke that picked the 2 key forwards to kick 5. Love him. All right. Mitch, what do you reckon, mate?
I have Blue Baggers by 23. I think it's going to be one of those Collingwood games, like the game that we played against Collingwood. It's going to be probably just a close-ish game, and I hope that fourth quarter we fucking belt them because I reckon Gold Coast will respond. They have to respond. They have to respond after last week. They have to. So so I reckon they'll probably respond, and I reckon we'll be up to it. But that last quarter, we'll probably just run over the top. Well, I hope that we run over the top of them. I have Harry Mackay to kick 5. I reckon that will probably lock him in for the Coleman. And also Cripper. Sorry.
You go.
Sorry. And also Cripper to kick up. Cripper to have 30 disposals. He's been building. He's been building over the past couple of weeks. He's been building. I believe the North Melbourne game he kicked 3 goals and had 21 touches, I believe, something like that.
Yeah, but they were 9 junk touches in the last quarter, but
they were. But then also Cripps had equal most disposals for Carlton alongside Walsh as well last week. So he's starting to build. And I don't think I don't think it's going to be that one of the 39 disposals with 4 goals. But I think he's going to get 30. I think he's going to be probably one of our best players. So I'm probably.
Is that gone for Cripps in terms of 39 disposals, 3 goals? Is that sort of game past him now? Is that Cripps of old? And that's not disrespect. Not saying he's not going to be a valuable player for the next sort of 6 years, whatever it is, for our footy club. But do you think he'll ever get back to his first few years of playing at the Carlton Footy Club?
I don't think so. I think Paddy Dow and Kennedy have started to come in and starting to play really well. I don't know.
My predictions then, is it? All right. Yep. So I feel like it can be one of those games very similar to last week. We could be up by a bit more, potentially, being Gold Coast by 80, 82 points, but we'll get pegged back in the last sort of half a quarter or last quarter to 43 or something like that. So I'm going to go Blues by 43. I think we'll be up by more throughout the game in terms of smashing them, but just like good old Blue Baggers, they'll let them back in just to give them a sniff. But Blues by 43, and Sam Walsh will have 40 disposals. 3 goals straight.
Hey,
Added up on the
Bang,
spot.
bang.
Fucking hell.
Brownlow Walsh, eh? Brownlow
Alan
Walsh.
Walsh. All right, boys. Anything else to add?
I just thought that I'd very quickly just touch on obviously the 6th lockdown. Obviously that we want to try and avoid that as much as we can, but obviously it's very hard to avoid it. Obviously, it's not very ideal for the Blue Baggers and the AFL community, but as always, we want to try and bring out content to make your weeks just that little bit brighter, and hopefully we'll get back to some normality soon.
Yeah, I've also
We
mate.
can get through it. We can get through it. We've done it 5 times before.
Yep.
As well. They're going to the Tassie game. They're going to Tassie expecting to play. Just imagine that happening, and then some people have been on the bus on the way and it's been cancelled. There's VFL game that played 10 minutes of footy and it's cancelled.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely crazy at the moment. But
The worst part about it is it's becoming a normality. Like, what is normal anymore? So,
on the way to the game, will this actually go ahead, or it's sort of a bit hit or miss? But it is good to have some footy. I don't know where it would be without the footy.
It's good.
In terms of
Bloody
a
good.
lot more boring, and obviously the Olympics helps as well.
Yeah.
I just got wraps it up, boys.
And as always,
Job, lads.
go the
Our Baggers.
Blues.